One of the first things you want to think about when you create a Hyper-V server is the number of NICs that you have. So I'm going to go to my network cards here and show you that on this particular Hyper-V server, I actually have two NICs. So the first NIC is for the physical connection between the client and the host machine being the server that runs Hyper-V. So I want a NIC that actually retains that connection for a remote desktop or whatever, the traffic that goes between the actual hardware Hyper-V server and the outside world. Now the second NIC I have is the NIC that the virtual machines will use, and I should have at least one of those, if not more. So let me show you how that is configured. So if I click on properties, you'll notice that this particular NIC actually has no IP address. It is actually the network or virtual network switch that allows the other virtual machines to have IP addresses. So you'll notice I have two virtual machines here, and they each have their own IP address, and each of them both go through this NIC as a virtual switch. And I'll go into more detail later on, and I want to show you the physical NIC that I have. Well, both of them are physical NICs, and you'll see that for this particular NIC I do have an IP address. Cancel. And you'll see that the external virtual switch here that I set up. So how do I set that up? So once I have two NICs or multiple NICs in the multiple network cards on the server, and I go into my Hyper-V manager, I could set up a new virtual switch. So if I click on virtual switch, you'll see if I create a virtual switch, it'll actually ask me which network card do I want to be the virtual NIC or the virtual switch. So you'll see if I highlight the one that I've already created, it is this particular network card out of the two that I've chosen as my virtual switch. And let me click cancel here. And you'll notice once I've done that, when I create a virtual machine, and I'm just going to go through the motions here, but and show you the virtual NIC portion. So here, now I could choose what network or virtual switch the connectivity is going to be for that virtual machine. So it is good to have more than one network card, even for the virtual machines, depending on how many virtual machines that you have. Otherwise, they will share all the traffic would go through that one network card, which is something you don't want happening. And so that's how you choose the virtual switch when you're creating the virtual machine. And I'm going to show you here the virtual machines sharing that NIC. So I have the two virtual machines up right now, just so you can visually see a little bit better. And you'll see if I bring up the network, this is the network card that goes through the virtual switch that I set up. And you'll notice that for Snake Eyes here, my server, it has this IP address, and for Storm Shadow here, my other virtual server, it has this IP address. So that's how you set up the virtual